Brian Bohr here, your insurance twins at Bohr Insurance Group, where we help families make better insurance decisions. Derek, today we're talking about dogs, those furry, friendly things that we love, right? I've got a big old fuzzy yellow one. You've got a even bigger fuzzy black one, right? Uh, Good dogs. They love to play. They love the kids. They love the neighbors. Well, things can happen. Things can go wrong even with the best of dogs, right? Ours are not the best trained, but they're well natured, right? But even with the best trained dogs, things can go wrong. And every year we see that happen for a handful of clients. What do I, as a dog owner, need to know when it comes to my insurance and how it may or may not cover me if something went wrong with my dog?
Well, there's a lot of things in a home insurance policy that people don't really know much about. And one of those is the liability coverage, which we often refer to as lawsuit protection. And a lot of people think, well, that's for if somebody comes onto my property and they get hurt and I get sued for their injuries because I'm the property owner. And yes, they're correct. But that liability coverage follows people away from the home as well. So a typical example would be watching someone's children swim while they're in Lake Michigan, or maybe having a bonfire while you're camping up north and maybe somebody gets injured from that. So it follows you away from the property, but it also applies to other things that you own and the lawsuit exposure that you have through the ownership of those things,
Hmm.
including dogs. So if a dog were to happen to cause an injury to somebody, maybe it, you know, got a little bit upset and happened to bite somebody, you're going to be sued as the dog owner because you're legally responsible under Michigan law for the behavior and the actions of that dog.
Hmm.
As you can imagine, a child that gets bit by a dog, especially in the face, typically warrants a relatively large lawsuit against the dog's owner. Your home insurance policy and the liability coverage on it, typically referred to as personal liability, is going to apply to that inevitable lawsuit against you.
Or rather should apply, right? Some home insurance policies do
Thank you.
provide coverage for dog bites and potential liability of your dog ownership. There are some out there that do not. And you probably don't know about that, right? That's not disclosed or shown in big red letters anywhere. So it's never going to happen to your dog. It's not going to happen to my dog. It won't happen to our viewers' dogs, but it does happen with some dogs, and we all want to have them. I'll have a dog till I die, right? But it's important to understand that there are liability exposures that come with owning a dog, and especially in a state like Michigan, where there's strict dog liability, you're responsible if it happens on your property, as long as that person had permission to be on your property, and especially if it happens in public, right? All of us have the right to be out in public and not be harassed or attacked by a dog. So it's really important to understand how that plays out and whether your home insurance coverage and therefore your liability protection is going to be in play.
And I think it's important to note that it doesn't have to be a dog attack. Your dog doesn't have to flip a switch and go super aggressive against somebody else and bite them. It could be your dog is extremely friendly and it goes up to that 5-year old and happens to jump on them, knock them over, they hit their head on a curb, or maybe someone's giving them a treat and they happen to nip their finger, but they get an infection and have a bunch of medical expenses. Those things that aren't necessarily indicative of an aggressive or a vicious dog can happen to anybody. And so that's why it's so important that the home insurance policy is aware that there's a dog in the house. There's typically not a charge for that. It's just something that the insurance company wants to know about. And then the insurance policy's liability coverage is going to apply to those types of incidents.
Very good. So if you have a dog or you're thinking about getting a dog, or maybe this triggers other questions about your insurance plan, uh, we at Bor Insurance Group would love to put our eyes on it. You need a second opinion, a second perspective. We are here